All right, hello everyone. Give me just a moment here. There we go. All right, hello everyone. Mike here. Um, yeah, so I'm here for my second live stream devotional. The first one um, on the VOD option has gotten some views and a little bit of interaction, which is very good. Still very early in the whole thing, not really getting a lot of attention yet, but I'm new, so I'm not really overly worried about it. Hey, if one person sees this even after the fact, that's all that really matters. Before we get into the actual message, take a little time just to chat a bit. See if we bring in any viewers. Christmas has come and gone. Christmas was very good. I'm really excited actually because my family pitched in and helped cover the cost for me to go to Florida next year. I am very excited about that because there's a couple of things that I'm really looking forward to. I'm a big fan of the Super Mario Brothers, specifically Luigi. If any of you have seen my other uh, other stuff all over the internet on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I go by Luigi's Stories, and as such, I'm really looking forward to going to Super Nintendo World while I'm down in Florida next year. But the other big thing that I'm really excited about is going to ReachCon. ReachCon, of course, is a Christian geek convention, and I am really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to get a chance to interact with fellow Christian geeks. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'm possibly going to get to meet face to face some friends of mine that I've only had a chance to interact with online. There is a website called Beneath the Tangles, and this website focuses on anime from a Christian perspective. So, kind of like what I do here, except specifically anime. And they have a podcast called the Power of God and Anime Podcast. And this podcast is hosted by, well, me. It's actually one of the reasons you probably won't see me talking a lot of anime here on the live streams, just because I talk anime on that podcast. So I want to keep my anime focus there and focus on other geek related things here. But um, the point I'm trying to make is there are some members of Beneath the Tangles who are likely going to be at ReachCon. And as such, it's going to be my first opportunity to actually meet them and interact with them face to face, having been working with Beneath the Tangles for a couple of years now doing the podcast. Really excited about that. All right, so let's get right into the topic at hand. We're going to talk Star Wars. Now, being as old as I am, I was born in 1981, so I was around the age to really get into it when it was just the three movies and a few little extra things like the Ewok movies, the cartoons. Then they have the novels that take place after Return of the Jedi, which, to be honest, I didn't read at the time. I mostly stuck to just the three movies. But it turns out there are actually two timelines in Star Wars. There is the canon timeline, and that's basically like the sequel trilogy, the Disney Plus shows, things like that. Most of the modern day Star Wars falls under canon timeline. It also has like the New Republic. If you're gonna go like the furthest back, I believe canon timeline goes is around the New Republic era, which is like a couple hundred years before the prequels. Then we have the Legends timeline. Now, the Legends timeline is basically all of the stuff that was around before the sequel trilogy and the Disney Plus stuff. So, like those novels that I mentioned are part of the Legend timeline. Um, the Legend timeline goes back much, much further to the days when they weren't even called Jedi. They were referred to as Jedi, and they didn't even have lightsabers yet. Legends also features my favorite Star Wars video game, Knights of the Old Republic. I love that game. It's on Steam. I might actually see about maybe doing a Let's Play of that game at some point. But personally, I prefer the Legends timeline. I like a lot of the stories in Legends. I like a lot of things they do with the Legends timeline. And what we're going to be talking about today is from the Legends timeline. We're going to be talking about two young Jedi who made the mistake of allowing themselves to get too close to the dark side, and they paid for it. That being Exar Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma. Now we're going to start with Exar Kun. Exar Kun was a young Jedi who had a lot of anger, which of course is never a good thing for a young Jedi. And he also had a desire for knowledge. In fact, he cared more about getting knowledge than the safety in going after it. Despite warnings from his own master and several others, he wanted to do research on Sith artifacts. Everyone kept telling him, this is a bad idea. This is dangerous. You need to stay away from this. He didn't care. He wanted to know. So he went to do his research and was confronted by a Sith Force Ghost, because yes, Force Ghosts are not just good guys. This was a very powerful Sith Lord known as Freedon Nad. And Freedon manipulated Exar and then basically put him in a life or death situation where the only way he could get himself out of this situation that he'd gotten himself into was to allow the dark side to enter him and help him. And in order to survive, he did it. And from that point on, he lost his touch with the light side. His control of the Force was hindered, and he only really could manage any kind of power through the dark side. He had allowed himself to be drawn away from the light because of his desire for knowledge. I want to start us off with a passage from Proverbs 4, verses 14 and 15. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. Exar Kun reminds me a little bit of King Saul. He had the ability to do great things, but his desire for worldly knowledge caused his own downfall. Very similarly, King Saul, and actually, this is not something I have in my notes here. This is just something that kind of came to me as I was going through this. King Saul had the opportunity to be a great leader for Israel, but his desires were always on earthly things. not on the ways of God. He took things that he wasn't supposed to take. He constantly desired earthly pleasures over heavenly. And I mean, at one point, he even tried to go to a medium to get answers because he had basically drawn himself so far away from God. He just kept making it worse and worse. And this is something that a lot of the kings of Israel over the years would go through. Some of them would do things that God wanted, they would live godly lives to a point. But a lot of these kings wouldn't get rid of Asherah poles, would not stop uh, witchcraft and other sins from taking place. So even though they were mostly doing right, they were dipping their toes in sin and things that they shouldn't have been doing. And it just caused them further problems. I also see this a lot with people who want to study opposing religions from Christianity. And in some ways, I get having the knowledge of opposing religions can help you to better understand in order to answer questions and explain your beliefs. The problem is, though, not everybody looks at these things because they want to bring themselves closer to God and because they want to do good. It it comes to the idea of heavenly wisdom versus earthly wisdom. We look at King Solomon. He asked God to give him wisdom, and he didn't want just like earthly wisdom. He didn't want to just be smart. He wanted to be wise. He wanted biblical wisdom so he would know how to properly lead the people of Israel. A lot of times people become more interested in earthly knowledge to the hindrance of their walk with God. I'm going to look now in James 3, starting in verse 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. It is very important that if we're looking for wisdom and knowledge, we have to look in the right place. If we're just looking for selfish reasons, as it said there in James, we are just pulling ourselves further away from God. And just like Exar Kun, who allowed himself to fall to the dark side because of his selfish ambitions, we have to be careful that we don't allow ourselves to fall deep into sin and away from God. And that brings me to our second character, Ulic Keldroma. Now, Ulic is another young, ambitious Jedi, kind of arrogant, very assured of his own skill and greatness. And like Exar, he had a lot of anger. When Ulick's master was killed by a Sith, Ulick, in his arrogance and desire for revenge, decided that the best course of action was to pretend to be a traitor to the light side and the Jedi and pretend to join with the Sith so that he could destroy them from within. This, of course, did not work. Instead of destroying the Sith from within, he fell to the dark side himself. Ended up falling in love with a Sith woman and becoming the very thing he was hoping to destroy. I'm going to go now to 2 Corinthians 6. There's my page. Yes, 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? Ulick was so convinced of his own greatness that he let his guard down, fell in love with a woman who pulled him even further away from the light side. Very similar to King Solomon. I mentioned King Solomon earlier on, and I talked about his desire for wisdom. And Solomon was one of the wisest men that ever lived. Yet he still made the mistake of getting involved with people he shouldn't. Solomon had many wives, hundreds of wives, most of which were not godly women. You know, it's actually funny. People talk about the Bible endorsing multiple wives. It really didn't. Yes, it talked about that it happened, but more times than not, multiple wives just led to problems and it led to sin. It was not seen as a good thing. Solomon joined up with many ungodly women, and then he fell into doing the same things that those ungodly women did. That caused him, one of the wisest men ever, to fall away from God. This is all from 1 Kings 11. I'm going to share a little of how the Bible tells it. King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women. From the nations concerning which the Lord had said to the people of Israel, You shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love. He had 700 wives who were princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. It is very dangerous to be in a relationship of any kind with someone who is not in the same place as you on your Christian walk. I know from my own experience, there have been people that I've dated who were not Christian. It never went well. It almost always went very, very poorly. And the Bible has numerous examples of things like this. Trying to step into places we shouldn't be, with people we shouldn't be with, and it causes us to fall. A lot of people think, well, if I get in a relationship with this person, I can then change them later. That never happens. Well, Okay, I should not say never. It almost never happens. More times than not, you are going to be the one who's turned. Because when we start leaning away from God, it's very easy to get tipped the rest of the way. And when you are yoked with someone who is not a believer, you're going to start leaning away from God. There's also, though, the comments that we hear from people. Well, Jesus interacted with sinners. He was always getting involved with sinners. But the thing is, Jesus' involvement with sinners was not approving of their sin, which is something a lot of people nowadays misinterpret. A lot of people think that because Jesus hung out with sinners, it means he was accepting their sin. No, Jesus interacted with these people in order to try to reach them. As it says in Matthew 9, and as Jesus reclined at the table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were reclining with Jesus and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? But when he heard it, he said, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners. Excuse me. What what people seem to envision with this is like a doctor who goes to see a patient and says, oh, you're really sick. Good job. That's not what he's going there for. The doctor is going there to help them, to heal them. Jesus was going to these sinners in order to help them and to heal them. And likewise, if we are going to interact with non believers, we're meant to do so in order to reach them. We're not meant to interact with them to get into the things they're doing. But so many people misinterpret this. So many people think way too highly of themselves. They believe that if they get close to these people, get involved in their things, they will eventually lead these people to God. But that's not how it works. If you get involved in sinful things, you are going to fall to sin. We can't play with the dark side. Much like Exar Kun and Ulit Keldroma, when we try to dabble in the dark side of sin, we are opening ourselves up to Satan, and we are putting ourselves in a position where Satan can pull us away from God. I have one final verse to share here, and this is from Proverbs 1. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your feet from their paths. We need to stay away from sinful things. We can't reach people by getting involved in the sinful things that they do. We need to pull people to God. If we try to get involved in the things of the earth, we're the ones who are going to be pulled away. If you'll join me now in prayer. Lord God, I pray that you will help me to stay away from earthly desires. I pray that I will seek only heavenly wisdom and seek only after your way. And I pray, Lord, that you will help me not to fall in with the sinful ways of this world. That my only interactions with people will be to try to draw them to you, and that I will not fall into the sinful ways of the world. I pray this in your heavenly name. Amen. All right, so that brings us to the end of my discussion here. I do see that I have had one live viewer today, and I want to thank you very much for joining me. I'm hoping as this series progresses, I will have more people on here. I'll have interactions in the chat and, be able to add more to this than just my own rambling on. I can say that the next topic I will be discussing, I already have planned. I haven't put together the notes for it yet, so I don't know specifically when I'll be doing it. But my next topic will be talking about Mortal Kombat. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the character of Melina and pushing away people from God, I guess would be the best way to put it. Because unfortunately, a lot of times, we as Christians can be very judgmental and we can end up pushing potential Christians away instead of drawing them near. But that's a topic for my next live stream. So yeah, I want to thank you very much for joining me. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you for checking the video out. I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this. I will be back again soon for another one, and potentially we'll have some more regular content on here as well, like the Supergirl trailer I reacted to, potentially doing that Knights of the Old Republic game, and just multiple other things we can potentially be doing here on the channel in relation to, the themes of geekiness and godliness. All right, so that brings us to the end. Thank you guys for joining me, and God bless.